All right. Shalom, Yashala. Call, hello, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Waharakah Kodash, Brakatham. I like to give double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Salutations to the select number of Akyam pushing its truth and sincerity in four corners of the round earth. And salutations to the select number of Akwat out there listening. What I like to get into is I've touched on this but the emotional intelligence, right? A lot of words are thrown around, and some people don't have the uh some people are lazy in the terms of truly looking up the defining, the definition of the meaning, because when you go into emotional intelligence, uh it's pretty much at the capacity to control your emotions, to manage your emotions, and to perceive others' emotions and influence one's emotions, if I'm not mistaken. Matter of fact, let me see. There we go. There we go. Okay, as you can see, it says emotional intelligence, the capacity to recognize, understand, and manage your own emotions and to perceive and influence the emotions of others. Okay. And a lot of people don't do that, because that word is thrown around a lot of times, but it's not acted upon. Some people understand it, some don't. But of course, this truth. This ministry is repetitious. I've spoken, I'm going to continue to speak on it through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahshua. People make mention of that. I need someone emotional intelligence. But here, sometimes some people go in complete opposite when a situation presents itself, and it's it's just like all bets are off. Like what happened to emotional intelligence? More so, you should be reading the room. You should have yourself well read for it. Pretty much scenarios, that could possibly be thrown your way. You got to think outside the box to really hone in on emotional intelligence, man. You got to think like, man, what if I was in that position? What if that happened to me? Some people truly have to think, about that. And some people, utilize that, thinking 10 steps ahead. It's not as common as it needs to be, but, some people will, utilize it and truly, hone in on what emotional intelligence is. Okay. This is Proverbs chapter 22, verse 3. A prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself. Okay. And where does that prudency comes in? A prudent man, hey, you're being observant. You're seeing what's going on. Like, oh, that don't look too cool. You know what? This ain't my scene. Or you know what? I have no, I have no I have no dog in this fight, as the saying goes, right? I have no dog in this fight. I have no equity, in this situation. Let me remove myself, right? Let me reread that again. A prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself, okay? But the simple pass on and are punished, okay? You're not, those who don't take, the precaution that needs to be taken when dealing with emotional intelligence. You know, just going off your emotions or how you feel will get yourself hurt and other people hurt, man. As the saying goes, Jake will, mess up a, cup of coffee, heathens as well, 2/3 of our people, whatever, man. But, brothers should get the gist of, what I'm saying through the spirit. Some people just, if that skin ain't thick enough and you're overly sensitive, that emotional intelligence is not gonna be in your vocabulary if you're so strong or so quick to act on stuff. Now, emotions, we all have emotions, but it's what we got to find a way to control that, man. Just being mindful, right? I get it. We're in hell, we're in captivity, but hey, it's time to what? We're still in a level of spiritually progression and solution based, man. And that's also where emotional intelligence comes in too. Because if you're just going to be hella sensitive and just show all your cards, bro, you mentioning emotional intelligence ain't gonna benefit you a thing, because we get it. We have emotions. I have emotions. I get pissed off, you know. But when dealing with stuff, you gotta know how to address it through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahshua. And that's when what? That's when that emotional intelligence comes in, because what? You're managing your emotions. Now, what is it worth you blowing up the spot and just letting everything take, your emotions take over you. You're vulnerable. Okay. You've become vulnerable. Okay. And the next scripture I'm about to get touches on that perfectly, man. This is Proverbs chapter 25, verse 28. He that hath no rule over his own spirit is like a city that is broken down and without walls. Okay. So you've shown your hand. You're very vulnerable because you're easily triggered. And of course this takes trial and error. You're gonna go through some things that's gonna, like, man, I would have, and oddly enough, a lot of situations you think that you wouldn't handle well, when you apply emotional intelligence and just really being, spiritual and walking circumspectly, man, you'll be surprised what you overcome and how you react. And then people who've seen you grow, they'll be like, man, this brother grown in the spirit, or man, they've, calmed down a lot, or, they see the maturity, you know, and with that emotional intelligence, no, you don't sit there and, bow the knee to, to somebody being, demonic and so forth, but you just really got to foresee it for what it is. Like, you know what? This isn't for me, man. Okay. This isn't for me. Cause if I'm not mistaken, in many facets, we name these, different lessons we do, but they still fall under the category of just, taking the low as well. When you're being emotionally intelligent, Akiam and Aquath, you're taking the low. Like, you know what? Hey, you got it. Or hey, y'all got it. Okay. Because you're reading the room. You're reading the room like, man, you know what you're capable of and what this can turn into. And let's just say you do get the W. Then it's like, man, it really ain't worth nothing. Unless it's going to get you, if it's going to get you closer to Yahweh Shem Yahshua, hey, go for it. But chances are it's a fleshly and it's an emotional thing, and that's where hope and all hopes through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahshua, that's when that intelligence comes in. Okay. And matter of fact, always perfect scripture to go to. This is Isaiah chapter 33, verse 6. And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times. Okay? And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times. Okay? So when you're being emotional rather than emotional intelligence being applied, it's just not gonna mix, man. This world that we're in triggers you, right? It triggers us every day. Myself, the apostles, bishops, and elders, and so forth. Hey, a lot of Jake who's waking up to this truth. We're triggered because we know something ain't right through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahshua. This world is off, man. Okay? But let me reread it again in its entirety. And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times, and strength of salvation The fear of Yahweh is his treasure. Okay? That's where my mind is. That's where the apostles, bishops, and minds are, man. Because if you want to just lead off emotions, bro, you won't make it to the finish line. Now there are particular things how you feed off stuff, hey, do a lesson, right? I can go outside of my, front door right now and scream, but what the hell is that gonna do? But get the cops called on me. You wanna release something, hey. Release praying, release meditating on the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahshai, man. Okay? Gotta know how to be at all times, man. Yahweh Shem Yahshai ain't no part-time thing, man. And to keep it a buck, that emotional intelligence ain't no part-time thing either, man. You gotta be in full go mode, man. From here to the grocery store, to work, to the bank, highways and byways. When we're doing lessons, hey, be mindful of what you're saying, Akia. Be mindful. Be mindful how you deal with people. Okay? You got this, it's beautiful to say, but it's more so beautiful to apply it. And get caught up in situations that we could easily prevent through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahshai. If we're truly, applying it, right? This is Proverbs chapter 20, verse 3. It's one of, when I came across today, I literally try, to apply this, This is Proverbs chapter 20, verse 3. It is an honor for a man to cease from strife, but every fool will be meddling. Okay? This is, we deal with stuff to where, it's not worth it. I'm gonna state it again, quote it again. I have no dog in this fight. Okay? People who like to be busybodies, that's for them. They want to meddle. They're gonna be labeled the fool. It's an honor. We're being honored to cease from BS, man, from strife. And that's when, because our emotional intelligence has to be on point at all times, man. Okay? Has to be on point all times. Okay? I stated many examples. We've been shown great examples from the apostles, bishops, and elders, right? Of applying emotional intelligence. But that's all I have on this. I just want to, put this on wax through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahshai. It was also encouraged, from Pre-Shar, we were, having a conversation about that, man. We're at a time, man, and as they say, common sense ain't that common these days, man. That's like pulling a tooth, man. That's like pulling teeth, man. Getting people to apply common knowledge or just common courtesy, common sense. Like, it ain't that common no more. We get it because we're in Babylon, confusion, right? So definitely, man. If keep that emotional intelligence in high gear, Akyam, and you aqua that there. So once again, Abaratazah, this is edifying for the body. So with that, call halal Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shah, Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shah, Waha Rakakodash Brakatham. Once again, I'd like to give double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Salutations to the select number of Akyam, pushing his truth and sincerity in four corners of the round earth. And salutations to you, select number of Aquat that they're listening. Shalom.